Allowing difficult students to take mental breaks sends a devastating message to them that unfortunately many of them will never recover from. So in this video, we're going to talk about the three things that allowing students to take mental breaks, to wander down the hallway, or to get up and move around the room, or to go down to the counselor's office, or to go see a favorite staff member on campus, this sort of thing. We're going to talk about the three messages this sends to those students. We're going to talk about the result, so the resulting behavior, what this does, how it manifests itself in the classroom. And then I'm going to address a question that you're most likely to have at the end of the video. Before we get there, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I would really appreciate it. So the first message that this sends to students is that you can't do it. You can't do it. Why else would an authority figure, a teacher or administrator say to the student, hey, you're allowed, when things get overwhelming for you, you're allowed to get up and leave the room. If there is a responsibility you don't like, if there is a person bothering you by their voice or for whatever reason, if you're not feeling it today, if you don't like what is being taught, if you don't want to do your work, you can get up and just leave the class. And so again, this tells them, hey, they can look around and see, hey, not everyone is being told they can get up and leave the room, so there must be something wrong with me. This is inevitable. And coming from an authoritative source like a teacher or an administrator, saying to the student, you can't do it. And this is why you're allowed to do this. This is a message that's very, very difficult to reverse. The next thing you're saying to them is that you don't measure up. You don't measure up. They can look around the room again and see other students, the rest of the class, doing their work and maintaining their emotional control, being disciplined in doing their work and taking care of their responsibilities. And then they're told, well, you don't have to. You can stand up and walk away. You can walk away from your responsibilities. This sort of thing, again, a devastating message to be told this, because again, you're essentially told, we're not requiring you to manage your responsibilities because you can't do it. And if you think about this, you don't measure up. You're not as good as other people. And if you think about this, if you extend this out into their adult life, and by the way, these are kids that are given these things over and over again. Each year, the new teacher is told, hey, this is a student that gets breaks. Here's the IEP or the 504 or whatever it is, or this student does better if you allow them to leave your classroom, or you want this student out of your classroom so they're not disrupting. If you extend that out into their adulthood, they're going to believe that they're unemployable. They can't take care of their responsibilities. And so they push them off on others. They blame other people. They become victims. We are teaching them, training them, telling them that they are victims, that they're not good enough, that they can't do things like other people. The final thing is that we tell them, this is the worst of all, you're weak mentally. You're weak mentally. Anything that's going to require you to have some mental discipline, to have some stick-to-itiveness, you can't do it. Anything and everything that gets too hard for you, that's hard to stick out, whether it's in school, studying at home, or whatever it is, you know what? You can't do it. You're too mentally weak. And so, again, just stand up and walk away. The result of this is that you have students, many students, that when they're not held accountable, and of course this is a solution, is that they need to be held accountable and follow the rules just like everyone else. Now at Smart Classroom Management, again, we teach you how to do this, and we show you and can prove to you using our methods that these kids can do it. We are going to teach them how they can do it and prove to them using their own behavior that they can be successful, that all this stuff is nonsense. And it is nonsense. It's a lie. We're telling them they can't do it. We're filling them with these terrible thoughts about themselves, that when the things that people believe about themselves largely come true. And so if they believe these things, that they can't do these things, then the result isn't a good one for the future. And the one thing that you'll see in your classroom, and again, later on in life as well, is a severe lack of emotional control. Temper tantrums, disrespectful behavior, exploding kind of anger, big scenes because they're not getting what they want. They don't have the discipline to work for things and to wait for things. And so they're very stunted in their maturity level. And again, it's devastating for their future. And the worst of it is that it just isn't true. Okay, so the question you likely have is, well, what about their, what if there's a 504 or a particular part of their IEP, right? Well, here's what I'll say. As far as the IEP goes, if you're a teacher, you're mandated to do that, correct? We know that. But here's the thing, is the way around that is your discussion with that student and their parents, saying, this is what's asked of you, this is on your IEP, but I think you can do it. I don't think you need this. I believe in you, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And through your clarity and their understanding of the rules in the class and the benefits of them, your detailed teaching of your classroom management plan, you showing them how to be successful each lesson and proving to them with their own work and their own ability that they can be successful, praising them for it as a form of feedback is life-changing for them. It reverses all this sort of thing. And so you tell them, I don't believe that you need this. And then you prove it through your classroom that they don't, and then you remove it from the IEP. You go into the meeting with the parent and the student, and you say, he doesn't need it, she doesn't need it. Ask them. Ask the student if they need it or not. You need to advocate for that student and that family who, and many times the family doesn't know any better. They're going by what you think or what you say. And so the student has a tough time as a kindergartner. Maybe they're not quite mature yet. And you label that child all these things by giving them mental breaks. And a lot of times with the mental breaks come all sorts of other really bad things for them, like behavior contracts and do this and get that sort of rewards and all this kind of thing. As far as a counselor coming to you and saying, this child is in your classroom, they're allowed to come down to my counseling office. You need to be strong enough and tough enough in your own teaching to say, hey, I respect what you're saying, but no, on my watch, that isn't going to happen. Or you can say, I'll make that decision. If I think the student needs it, then I'll send them down. And then you don't send them down. You prove to the student, to the counselor, to your own administrator, to everyone else, the families, that this child doesn't need that. It isn't an excuse. Having a 504 or whatever all these sorts of things, you say, yes, I'm willing to do this, but they don't need it. And let me show you. And then prove that they don't. And for literally every student that you're giving a mental break to, you're hurting them by doing it. And you're also creating, if you ever do try to hold them accountable, you are creating this sort of lack of emotional control. And these are the kids that end up in gangs and crime and all these sorts of things that become unemployable. But we can do a lot. We have a lot of power. It was one of the things that I mentioned in the previous video. We have a lot more power as teachers in our own classroom than I think we believe. Okay, I hope this video helps. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll see you next time.